Zoom at noon, our family business forum, really entrepreneurial forum on Fridays. We are excited to welcome two of our winners from our Wednesday Family Business of the Year Awards, our 30th Family Business of the Year Awards. And Nick and Francisco, just welcome, congratulations. Today we're going to talk about your business, and you both were actually on my show, so we're going to talk about some of the similar things. But I just want to begin with, for those that don't know, the Rothman Institute at Fairleigh Dickinson University, we're focused on entrepreneurship with family businesses, veteran businesses, students, and urban businesses, really focused around entrepreneurship. And we do this Family Business of the Year Award. And I got to tell you, it's a highlight of my year because every year the energy of the family businesses is so great. And we really want to build on that. And so many people have said, well, I've been working at my family business and I don't get a chance to talk to other family businesses. So this is great. I don't know. How did you guys feel about that? Did you get a sense of that as well?
Absolutely. It was great to be, you don't realize big names, small names, neighborhood names, brand names, they're all family run. And there's just as much pride, whether it's a one person or 20,000 person employee operation. So, and it kind of teaches that it's all that energy's there at every level. And it was really neat to hear even the dean talk about the history and the kind of longest running family business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the night or the afternoon for us too. It was seeing some of these companies that were founded 10 generations, 9 generations in the past and still going as family businesses. That it definitely motivated us to. I know that my father and I on the ride back, we were like, hey, it would be funny in 300 years if the dean talks about our company as a 9th generation, 10th generation family, and family business. So it's definitely a highlight of the
I will tell him that you expect him to be there in 300 years. So so let's do some introductions. And so it's always better for people to introduce. And I'll start with Nick. Why don't you say a little bit about you and then a little bit about the business, and then we'll have Francisco do the same.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Nick Rafanello, Eastern Janitorial Company. Second generation. My dad started the company in 1977. We began as a janitorial business. There's kind of an interesting story about how it started but grew. And I grew up in that business, working for him throughout, as a youngster, but also even in high school. Left to college, did some other things, and then joined the business about a decade ago. We now service 3 states mainly, New Jersey, New York, and Eastern PA. We provide all sorts of cleaning services, specialty services, as well as flooring services, industrial services, and all sorts of handyman services throughout the region. And we're delighted to be here and have been recognized. Thank you.
Yes, well, congratulations on the award. And so and so Francisco, say a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the business.
Absolutely. So my name is Francisco Vizcaino Jr. I'm with FNS Digital. The story of FNS Digital really started 3 years ago, but it goes back more so to where my father had a software development company in the Dominican Republic. And he got the opportunity to come to the United States to take care of, his side of the family. So we immigrated to the United States 13 years ago. He had to leave his company because he couldn't manage it from another country. And so right around the time where I was almost graduated college from computer science, we started thinking about and talking about starting a business. And so this is really, FNS Digital is a spiritual successor, we like to call it, of his earlier business in the Dominican Republic. And him and I, along with another co-founder, we started FNS Digital in 2019. And so going strong, we provide all sorts of software development services. We make websites, web apps, mobile apps, and any other tech solution that businesses need. So we're really proud of our work, and we'd like to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, no, it's great. And when you're on my show, your dad talked about, driving trucks and doing what you have to do to get started. And so let's start there and really both of you talk about your dads, and I know your moms, were part of the business. What were some of the sacrifices? Again, we'll start with you, Nick. What were some of the sacrifices your dad had to make to get this business started?
Well, when he first started out, he was a gym teacher, realizing that he had 2 mouths to feed and and needed to find extra income. So he started to grab the part-time job, as many of us do when we're, first generation, not coming from a kind of a well-heeled background. And that part-time job was cleaning. He started to clean more and more and became very friendly with the owner, and then decided, he kind of realized how much he was missing, because he came from an entrepreneurial background. Most people in our family were self-employed. And so he said, I'm going to try my own. And kind of happened where he set out and got a couple of customers, and then got discovered. And his part-time, which was really important to get the bills paid, found out his other employer. And so he kind of realized he had to go full tilt on it, leave teaching and jump in the business before he was even ready. And just to make sure that he had what he needed to provide for my family and I. So in the beginning, it was always, we felt it. It was that, the growing up in the early 80s, it was the tension was there. I mean, money was tight, and so much so that, my brother and I were aware and helped. We're asked to, even he didn't even want us to help, really, because he wanted to kind of make us be part of the struggle that he had to go through. But that's the way the family works, and we were involved, and I pushed even harder through. I think he wanted us to go out and not have to do what he did, not clean toilet bowls, not be to some degree looked down upon, because you're a support role of a company. But I didn't take that. I didn't see it that way. That I had a lot of pride in what we did, and he wouldn't let him keep me away, Dale. So
Yeah.
kind of muscled my way back in.
No, that's great. And as I've really found, as I said at the luncheon, when people start sweeping floors and doing toilets, and they value the business so much that when they're of age, they're less likely to sell the business, because they know what work, what family blood, sweat, and tears went into the business to really make it what it is. And so, Francisco, you guys won the new family business of the year, so you don't have as long a tenure, but your dad was almost always working in this business before you got it. Talk a little bit about your dad's story and getting it going.
Yeah, so my dad is from real humble beginnings. I'm very blessed that he's able to provide for me and my brothers and my family the life that we have now. But his life was not as easy as we had it. And he always reminds us of that too. So he grew up in the barrios of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. So not really a well-off neighborhood. The whole nine. He'll tell you all the stories about how he has to walk miles to get to school, and sometimes couldn't even afford to buy lunch at school, and the whole nine. How he has to clean shoes from people in the main streets when he was in middle school, high school, just to make some side money. So he really had humble beginnings, but he always had the entrepreneurial spirit in him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew that, he could see the movement towards technology back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when he went to college. So he got his degree from computer science, had to pay for it out of pocket. So he was working just to pay school. So once he got his degree, he started working a few jobs and landed a job as a database administrator for a healthcare company in the Dominican Republic. And then from there, he started a school administration software with another business partner that really took off in the country. And he was managing a lot of schools, managing a lot of records, and he really loved what he did. But the country wasn't in the best shape at the time. Everything that had to do with politics, crime, corruption, and he just didn't see too much of a future in the country in and of itself. And so he had his family, my grandmom, both my grandparents on his side, and then a bunch of my uncles, my aunts, my cousins that lived here. And he saw America as a land of opportunity that it really is. He always said that he was coming to America to work. He wasn't coming to be in the same position that he was in before. He was coming to work, if not the same harder than he was working. And so when he came here, he wanted to keep going with his business, but it just didn't work out, overseas. But like I mentioned back, that he has an entrepreneurial spirit in him. He didn't, even if it was another business, even if it wasn't a software engineering business, he wanted to start a cleaning company, and he wanted to start something else company. So a lawn mowing business. He just wanted to start something that it could take off for himself so that he could provide for him and his family. But that was going to take too long, and he had mouths to feed, and he had, bills to pay. So he had to take a job as a truck driver for an HVAC company, delivering HVAC parts and everything all on the Parkway. And that was really, I've never seen my dad at a more low point in his, in his pride, his mental health, because he always questioned himself, like, why did I come here for if all I'm doing is just driving a truck? And so after a few years of working at it, he started working in his field, and then that motivated him to start another business with me. And that's really where it all began.
Well, but one of the things that knowing both your dads, that people say these successful entrepreneurs, are hardened and they're tough and they're mean and they're angry. Your dads are two of the nicest people I've met. Just really, really genuinely nice people. They defy that myth of the entrepreneur, and it is a myth that they don't understand. And I said this again at the luncheon. Family businesses are the best place to work in the world. Better than government, better than big corporations, better than nonprofits. You guys really treat that, and that's a lesson for those that are on this call that are starting their own business. It pays to work hard, but it pays to be nice. It pays to be empathetic, to be a good person. I'm a big believer that the good people win in the end. It takes a little longer, but the good people win in the end, and I've seen a lot of that. So let's get to you guys, and so I'll go back to Nick. So your background, I mean, you're highly educated. You had a chance to see the world outside of the family business for a while. So talk a little bit about your background, and Francisco will do the same with you. You're both highly educated.
Thank you. So again, as my dad had encouraged me to not join the business as a youngster, I always loved West Point, and I got the academy, congressional. I got into the academy, got the nomination from Rodney Frelinghuysen, our local representative, and it was funny because as you grow up in a family where it's you're driven by like values and the handshake matters. It was my senior year was like the apex of my life, where I got into that academy, and then I realized I'm going to take something where someone else wants to be a career military man, and I didn't want to be a career military man. I knew that. So to take a free education and not want to actually use that education, I decided, you know what, I just can't accept it. And so I was left kind of, what do I do? So I ended up through that network of favors, kind of people that you've helped. And so it's a kind of a complicated story, but I ended up landing at Lehigh University as an engineer. It was an engineering degree. And then again, you kind of hit a wall when I was in 2001, the dot-com bubble happened, and the job I thought I had, which I was going to be this big corporate guy, changed. And again, through a friend of a friend and a network and alumni connection, helped me find a job in IT. So I was a tech guy on the West Coast for a while, and then was able to move back with that company and be into New York, and then went to NYU at night. So night school with at NYU versus while doing full-time jobs, because as you grow up in this entrepreneur household, the work week isn't 9 to 5. It's not 40 hours. You're always looking to cram 3 days into one. It's just the way we're built. Mm-hmm. And so after graduating NYU, was able to move into a career in investment banking, and had very successful there. And again, during a difficult time when the market was tough, the industry was downsizing. But through that kind of fire and passion you're built with by growing up in that household, I was able to stay there. And after a while, I realized, I wanted to be on my own. I had a couple of companies when I was a high schooler. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to work for someone. I wanted to build my own culture, my own team. And so I left, and it just made sense at the time where take over the family business. And the folks at Credit Suisse thought I was nuts. But 10 years later, not so nuts, and a little bit of luck too. Happened to be in an industry that was really meaningful through the past 3 years. But the story, I think that's the cool thing about the story is as long as you work hard, treat everyone with respect, you could be in the most challenging of industries that's shrinking, that's going through turmoil. I remember when I was in tech in the early 2000s, they were trying to, we were going through such tightening they literally got rid of the water coolers and were downgrading on the toilet paper. I mean, that's when you know it's
Wow.
really bad. When, you know, leading up to the .com, I mean, it was like anything goes. I mean, the toilet bowls are gold, basically.
Right.
So but you kind of persevere these storms in corporate because of the way we're brought up. And so, you know, my history was kind of it may seem like a ping pong, but now that I look back, it makes perfect sense. So that's me.
Yeah. Well, and Nick, I mean, that, you know, I've done a lot of career counseling in my own life. It is always the ping pong, but it seems to make sense. The experience is that you would never have figured it out. And so, you know, Francisco's, you know, again, highly educated, you know, a lot of options. Talk a little bit about your background, Francisco, and how you decided to work with your dad.
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew that as a kid, I always liked computers, I always liked video games, I always liked tech. And for me, when I was going through high school and seeking what I wanted to do with my life, you know, what do I really want to do? I knew that that was the path that I wanted to go that I wanted to take with computers. So in high school, I knew that I wanted to do computer science. And not because of my father or anything. I leaned towards that, but it also did help that whenever I had a problem in school, I could just be like, "Hey, Dad, can you help me with my homework? Can you help me with my calc homework? Can you help me with my data structures homework?"
Yeah.
And so I guess it's really where it stemmed from. Just as I'm going through school and I'm going through my first classes, my first programming classes, I would go to him and I would say, "Hey, like, how do you do this?" And he would sit down with me and foster that knowledge. He would never tell me the answer. My dad's the type of dude who would he never tells me the answer, but he makes sure I figure it out. He always says that he'll never leave his kids money, because if he leaves an inheritance for us, that means that he didn't do his accounting correctly. But he'll always leave knowledge to us, and that's something that, you know, I always take with me. And so as I'm going through, I went to Harvard High School here in South Jersey. And then the next step that made sense to me was going to a local school. I knew I wanted to stay close to home. I moved too much throughout my early childhood, so I wanted to stay close to home to have that consistency. And so I went to Stockton University and got my computer science degree, and I minored in mathematics, just in case I needed to use it for something. And that's where it really happened. Before I graduated, right before the pandemic. Together, my father, myself, and Sage, and we decided to, you know, take things forward. And it was not easy at first because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're not seeing results in your pocket per se. It's a lot of unpaid hours, a lot of unpaid work, just making clients happy. You know, make sure that you really build your name, build your trust from people, and that's what we really wanted to do the first few years. And so now we're at a point where, you know, we can say that we're proud of those humble beginnings with our company, and everything that led up to here. Even though, like Nick mentioned, it might seem like a ping pong, it makes perfect sense to us how we got here.
Yeah. Well, you know, the old saying, "No pain, no gain." You know, that's part of the process, and that's part of, and I think part of the problem, because we're dealing with, and I'm going to ask you guys about hiring. But, you know, there's a shortage of people that are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. Young people coming in, there's some doing it, but a lot of them, you know, like we're talking to, you know, someone the other day, and a lot of the young people said, "Okay, when you promote me, I'm going to do the extra work." Well, I grew up with, if I want to get promoted, I got to do the work first. You know, you can't, and that's a mindset. But that, again, this book back here is on influence. And that's the influence. You had great influences. I had great influence from my parents. Not everybody has that. And so as we go through that. And so now family member, both of you have a number of family members, you know, in and outside of the business, you know, talk about that. Well, either one of you can talk about your family member involvement.
I guess I'll go first. So since we're still, you know, a very young company, we could use the hands from whoever. So our family is very tech oriented. And when we started, my cousin, who is a network engineer, a cybersecurity engineer, she decided to join us to help. So that was the first like big breakthrough for us, because we had somebody who was professional in their field and could see the passion that we had and could match that passion. So her name is Laudi, and we're really thankful for her. And then my mother, who's a tax accountant, she helps us with bookkeeping. 'Cause, as tech guys, we're not really too fond of financials and the organization of that. And I let Sage and my mom handle those things. And so it's my mother, my father, myself, my cousin, and then we have another cousin, Emilio, who works as a junior developer for us on different projects that he thinks are fun. And so that's pretty much the dynamic of the core family structure. And then obviously we have other in-house staff that's not family, but we consider them like family. Something that my father mentioned when we first began the hiring process. He really loved this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Yeah. And one of the keys that book is, you never want to, it talks a lot about leadership. And so you never, when you're meeting people, especially if they work for you, you never want to reprimand them. You want to embrace them as if they were your family. And so we really take that to heart with all of our employees who are not family, blood related. And I hope that they can, say the same thing about us. Sometimes we go into the office and I see somebody's not feeling their best. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And we have therapy sessions. We like to call it in the office because not everybody always has a good day. And so we like to treat everybody like that.
Yeah, no, I Jake, in our TV interview, I asked your dad, because your wife, your mom is the perfect complement to the business. I said, did you marry her because you knew she was influential? And he laughed. Of course not. It was because of love. So Nick, your family, I met some of your family. Some are retired, others, how involved is your family in the business?
Similar. So my wife helps with the marketing. Mm-hmm. And she's, helped us build this brand and this image where we kind of punch above our weight and been able to grow. And my father, very much so. I mean, I could meet people anywhere, and they're going to, they'll say, your dad is just the best guy in the world. And, like every time I see him, he hugged me, and it's just in today's time where, you're always worried about, too touching, not touching. I mean, he's like Santa Claus, and so people they leave with, and we'll be on the boardwalk in Point Pleasant, and someone will come up to my dad and say, Mr. Rafanello, you were my gym teacher. And this is going back like 30 years ago. So he's just got this face and this kindness that, no one's ever could say a bad thing about him. My mom was involved in business, but I have to say, the core people of our business are family, and they're not blood, but you met Terry yesterday. Yeah. He comes to my son's soccer games. Wow. And it's like we are very involved in each other's lives. When last year in Ida, he's in Rahway, he got whacked. Wow. And we were down there with an army cleaning out his basement. Wow. Had electricians there fixing him. We fixed his truck, and he felt, and he came to me with tears in his eyes saying, Nick, the truck got swamped, and I'm sorry, Nick, I put it as high as I could. But no one ever thought this was going to happen. Linda on our team, our controller, she watches every penny, like it's her own. And, I'm on a first name basis with her mother, who's in her 90s. Wow. And, we make sure Linda doesn't come to the office because we don't want anything to go home to potentially hurt her mother. So the idea of family is loose because it's not blood, but it's family, and we're that tight with each other. And it's kind of a neat thing because you're here so much and everything matters. Whether you turn the light off and burn electricity, whether there's someone new who's maybe, someone doesn't have a good feeling about, they're looking out for you. Everyone who's here in our core team is family. Yeah. It's
as I've worked with family businesses, there's always a glue, someone who's a non-biological family member, but family nevertheless, that carries it through the generations, that is often the operations person and so on. And it really is a sight to see. And that's one of the reasons we at Rothman are really promoting this, is because it is really not just an American story. This is an international story of warmth and goodwill and economic prosperity and challenges. And so on that a lot of people don't really think about. And so now, Francisco, I know you have some partners who are non-family, but they're like family, right? You know, as part of it.
Yeah. So Sage, he's my brother.
Right.
Sage, we sometimes whenever, especially starting off while we were in college, we had a few classes together. That's how we met. When we first started the business, there was a lot of deadlines to meet, because my father, Sage, and I, we started the business because we had some contracts in front of us that we just couldn't turn down. And so for us to meet those requirements, for us to meet those deadlines, we had to do all-nighters, like 2-3 nights in a row. And so he would come over my house before we had an office. He would come over my house, code all night, program all night, design, do whatever we had to do. Just order pizza at 2 a.m. and keep going at it. Take a 15-minute nap, and so that really bonded us like nothing. We've been to war together pretty much.
Right.
And so even now, sometimes when we have the office and we're faced with a lot of decisions to make, and all entrepreneurs would tell you this, I know Nick can vouch for this, is that there's not enough hours in the day for you to get things done. And so sometimes we have 12, 14-hour days when we're in the office till 9, 10 p.m. And we same thing. It's definitely a brotherly family love that we have for each other. And my dad loves him like a son as well. So I'm really thankful for the dynamic that we have. And that just goes to show that, I think of Sage as family, but even though he's not blood related to me, whenever I think of family business, Sage is definitely included in that. And I can say the same thing for Dan and Nick and all our other guys that we work with.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it really is great. So let's move to some of the business, for businesses that, that are entrepreneurs that are either online here or going to watch this in the video. You both target your market. Talk a little bit about how do you do target marketing? How do you identify who those prime customers are? You have two very different businesses. So I think it'd be really helpful to hear, how do you identify those customers? Either one.
For us, or Francisco, for us, I think, it's interesting. Pretty much everyone's could be a customer of ours.
Right.
In any way. I mean, anything that's not a house is a customer, multifamily, residential, school, mall, big box retail, banks. And so thankfully, because of my background, I kind of realized you don't want to try and boil the ocean, you get nowhere.
Right.
So we spent a lot of money in the beginning to kind of broad SEO. So we got a lot of inbounds, and we had to decide, what do we want? And as you go through that life cycle of a company, in the beginning you'll take anything, right? Because you want to make money, you got to pay the bills. But over time, you've got to start to say, what just doesn't work for us? What can we not do well? And every industry is probably different. For us, we've started to set limits on minimum levels of service, because we just can't be as reactive to, if it's twice a month, does that mean every other week?
Right.
Or does that mean the first Friday and the last Friday? Because, what you have is, you start to learn this in our space, people then say, well, you didn't come last week. Well, sometimes there's 5 Saturdays in a month.
Right, right.
And you get into the situation where, none of us get up in the morning to have an issue where a customer's not happy with us. We want to have all of our customers happy. So you start to say, all right, where do I want to stay away from? Because it's going to create pitfalls, because I'm not organized that way. So I don't know if that answers your question, Dale, but
yeah, no, it does. No, it does. And so, Francisco, why don't you talk a little bit about your customer base and how you're targeting?
Yeah, so for us, like Nick mentioned in the beginning, we really didn't know exactly where our target base was going to be. We would take anything. We would work with whoever.
Right.
Even though that's the case right now, we're more focused on projects that really bring the best out of us. So at first, it started a lot of projects started at a small business enterprise. So businesses would come to us newly formed. They needed a website. They didn't have a online presence, and so they say, "Hey, I have a restaurant, or I have a cleaning business, and I want to start. Can you help me out with the site?" And so that was really the majority of our clientele. But now we're moving more into enterprise level projects. over the past few years. So we've been working with the New Jersey Theater Alliance, the Garden State Film Festival, and some of the casinos here in Atlantic City to get them caught up to the 21st century when it comes to tech and software. And we still deal with a lot of small businesses. We're really proud of that. We really showcase our small businesses, and we love working with them, especially the Hispanic community, because we're one of the only tech companies in the East Coast that can fully service Hispanic communities because of the language barrier and everything. They feel more comfortable. But we really don't turn down anybody at this point. We say that even if you have it's just yourself, you're a business, and so we could help you out with any digital stuff. And I hope that answers your question. There really is no good cookie cutter solution for anybody.
Well, one of the things that we talked about, and it changes over time, is that your target changes as your business grows, as the economy impacts things. How did you both, how did your companies do during the pandemic? How did you pivot? What were some of the things that you did to survive that? Either Nick or Francisco.
Yeah, so being candid, the pandemic was a time where we really found our footing. We understood that, for a lot of businesses, especially in Atlantic County, a lot of people don't know Atlantic County, where we are located, was the hardest hit, I believe, in the country, because the number of businesses and restaurants that closed. And so we thought that it was going to hit us, harder. But we saw that opportunity of people migrating to online. And our first real breakthrough was working with the Garden State Film Festival. We had to pivot them from an in-person festival, and we had built previously a platform where users or filmmakers could submit their films over the internet. And so we said, hey, we have all the files, and we know how to encode the video. Let's make a live streaming portal for them where users could go and pay for a ticket as if they were in person, pay for a ticket, and then they'll get access to the festival. We live streamed the whole thing. We set camp at the office, and we made sure that it all worked through that weekend. And so once we had that formula of live streaming events and taking in-person events to a digital platform, we said, hey, let's help out as many businesses and organizations as we could. So we worked through a lot of film festivals and a lot of event companies, especially during the holidays in 2020, that found our services really helpful. And so the pandemic was just an avenue for us to shift our focus. Instead of being boots on the ground and saying, hey, let's go chase after these businesses, brick and mortar stores, let's help take the brick and mortar stores to online.
Well, that's the other thing, is this innovation is such a big part of this, that you've got to be innovative to survive. And so Nick, talk to me about the pandemic for your company.
So for us, it was a couple of different things. First of all, supply chain became a really big deal for us. We realized that, it used to be just in time. We'd order things and they'd go out, but, things like gloves were really hard to find. So we were kind of doing full-time, it was a full-time job just to kind of make sure we had what we needed to do our work and also keep our people safe. So that was a huge focus for us. And then it turned into a business line. We never really sold things. We always sold service, but through the pandemic, we started to sell masks and other things. And, it was really tough going through it, because you get caught in this pricing of what's the fair way to value what we're doing, because things were escalating and it was so dynamic. We did our best to be as fair as possible all the way through, but knowing that, you buy something for $60 today, by the time it arrives, it's already being, it's already an $80 item. By the time you use it, it's probably $150 item.
Right.
So, it was a really crazy moment, but I think it was a lot of communication, a lot of, basically doing the best you can. I mean, that's one of the quotes that my dad used to say, always growing up. If anything would go wrong, is like, I'm just doing the best I can. That's all that I could be asked for, and it was kind of like a very simple way of saying, you only get so much information.
Right.
You know, you only have so much knowledge in your head, and you only kind of have certain facts in front of you, and you got to swing the bat. And I think he learned that in a way where you can't get stuck. The worst thing for an entrepreneur is get stuck and like overanalyze and not move.
Right.
The lack of movement's a killer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's kind of, we just did the best we could all the way through COVID, and thank God we made it. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great explanation. Yeah, you've got to have forward movement. You've got to have forward movement. So both of the companies, and one of the reasons that you won, you give back to the community. You do things. If you Francisco, why don't you share some of the things that you've been doing, the company's been doing to give back?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that the first mission when we all got together was one of the core goals that we wanted to make sure that we followed through on was that the first thing is we saw a lot of people, a lot of students in our area, a lot of talent leave the area because there was not a source of labor in the field that we did. So that was the first thing. We wanted to provide a hub for students to go and feel comfortable and grow academically and professionally, and right in the area without having to go to Philadelphia, New York, or any of these big cities. We really wanted to make Atlantic City a hub for students in STEM. And so the first thing we did was start an internship program with Stockton University, where we had a few students intern over the summer, and we still do. Each summer, we'll take a few select students, we'll interview them, and we take them in, and they'll do some work for us and grow professionally, academically. And we still keep in contact. And some of those students have gone on to get jobs at the FAA, at Google, at a bunch of other STEM powers. And so we're really proud of that. That was the first thing. The second thing was we wanted to help the area grow economically. And so we joined, as soon as we could, we joined the Atlantic County Chamber of Commerce, the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, the Ventnor Business Association, and then we certified as a minority business enterprise so that we could service and really foster relationships with all those communities and all those different groups of people, so that we could network and share ideas on how we could, provide the small help that we can. Because of the limited time, limited staff, we wanted to really make the most of it. And so, we're all the founding members at FNS were all members of a committee, either at Atlantic County Chamber of Commerce or the Cape May. So we serve on some committees as far as economic development and planning and recruiting and things like that. And we also volunteer at this is new for the summer. We volunteer at universities. Such as Stockton, where we give talks to oncoming freshmen about what it is to be an entrepreneur and owning your business and some of the challenges that you may face. And that's a new program that we started working with them recently. And so, we're still growing, and as we grow, we really want to expand our community outreach. But we're really proud of the work that we've done so far with the small time that we have.
Yeah, well, that's pretty incredible, and again, that's one of the reasons you're an award winner, to really give back. And Nick, I know you guys have done some great stuff, so talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, COVID gave us an opportunity where we were prepared for the worst and were able to help. So we had been doing disinfecting for specialty services for years, and when COVID hit, a lot of our first responders didn't know what to expect. There was a lot of concern there. And so we started in the community kind of saying, we're happy to help you sanitize your police vehicles, your fire vehicles, anything basically at a municipal level. And it turned into this kind of grassroots. If you come over Monday between 8 a.m. and noon, you're welcome for a free service. Bring whatever you want. We have pictures of guys taking their gear out, like the SWAT guys, because they were responding to something, and then the vehicles and pretty much anything. And so it turned into just our parking lot, then it turned into a couple of jurisdictions, and it turned into the county, and then we had to go to the local church to get more room because the line was so long. It was a really it felt great. Our staff loved doing it, and we were in a position to kind of help, and it meant a lot. I think to the community, but also to us too. I mean, it's part of our fabric.
Right.
We did all sorts of kind of other neat things. Lots of donations, because we were already importing things from Asia to help in our polishing business on the marble and the terrazzo side. So we had been bringing in masks and things in bulk, and we started to say, who, if you want to jump on with us, we'll organize donations. So we donated, thousands of masks and gloves, even hand sanitizer to multiple groups, religious oriented, special needs oriented, et cetera. And we really, it was a lot of fun. And people from, I think we even posted something, and we were sending things out to like doctors in different states where we were able to help them because we had N95s and no one else did. So that was kind of neat. Do lots of other things too, for our staff. We offer English as a second language for free. We've got a good grant writing program, and we're able to help them because what it's like to be a first generation.
Right.
There's a lot of things missed, and we trying to be a support for our staff. It's easy to get taken advantage of. You hear those stories all the time, and it breaks your heart that there's hardworking people out there that just don't understand the details, and someone else takes advantage of that fact. So we try and arm them as best as we can, and lots of other ways too, Dale.
Well, that's incredible. The give back, and one of the things we always talk about is, well, you can go online and go to this big retailer. How much are they giving back to the community? What are they doing for your community? So people say, well, I'm paying a little more for the local business, but that local business is really helping to reduce your taxes with the rateables, and also help the Little League and help the community and help people, help people grow and do that stuff. And again, people just don't think about those things. It really is, it's extraordinary. We're trying to do our part to do that. And so the future, what's in the future? What's going on, with Francisco? Obviously you're in the tech space. There's all sorts of things that are changing instantaneously. What is kind of the immediate and maybe even the longer term plan for FNS?
So we really just want to take everything in stride, everything that we've built over the years, and just expand outward. We don't want to change the company. We don't want to change our values, change who we really are. If we ever get to a point, we talked about this the other day, if we ever get to a point where we don't recognize our values or the work that we do, there's no point in doing it. So everything that we mentioned, from the discipline that my father always instills in us, to the punctuality, the delivering what you promise, all those values, it's a must. It's not non-negotiable. So we want to take those values and just expand. We've recently just started moving into more of the hardware space, and that's the hardware, the services that I mentioned that we do for the casinos. And we really want to keep that going, because we see a lot of potential in modernizing the casinos and bringing more people in to Atlantic City as a destination and revitalize the economy. And so we don't really know, like you said, with tech, everything changes. Sometimes there's opportunities that are presented to us with new technology that we haven't previously thought of. But the good thing about us is that we are very open-minded to anything that we can offer. And so the casinos and the hardware installations and things like that was something that was not really planned out from the beginning, but as businesses, we have to adapt to what the market is calling for. And we're looking to keep that going, keep that momentum going.
Yeah, that's great. That's great innovation, Nick, what about you? You have a solid business. You're doing stuff. What's kind of next in the future?
It's I hate to sound boring, but it's more of the same. We want to continue to expand our presence in this area. I don't think we wish to grow geographically, but just more service, being whatever our customers need, being able to say yes. We like the longtime customers, and they end up asking us for more, and that's why we've kind of grown our business into other places, is because they said they trust us for this category. Can you do this for us? And the answer is absolutely. We're going to try and we're either going to figure it out or advise you on how you could solve that problem. So more of the same. But we like the innovation piece. You mentioned, what do you do? And there's a lot of, not that we want to work ourselves out of the jobs, but there are places where technology can help. There's a lot of robotics and AI coming into how do you scrub a floor with a machine that's on its own, or how do you vacuum a place? And so we're watching it. It's really early. They've been trying to get it right for a long time. We're paying attention to it, but at this point, it's kind of more of a test mode versus a kind of a full strategy.
Right. And so the economy, there's a lot of talk about a recession, a lot of talk about the economy slowing. You know, do you think that your business strategy has really kind of insulated you from some of the potential, economic challenges ahead?
I think that I'm concerned about the future, but I think that it's not gonna, we're front and center with our customers. They come to us with problems or concerns, and what we're gonna do is give them a creative answer. The big guys, they're gonna say it doesn't fit in the template. You don't like it, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cancel you or hold you to the agreement. For us, we're gonna say, we did this all through COVID, and we actually tracked it all, where we did COVID related adjustments to arrangements, because we knew these businesses weren't going away, they were just changed. And the same thing is with this potential recession that's coming. They're not going away. These are strong, solid businesses that do really important things, but we're going to support them and adjust and pivot through it. And then hopefully as things recover, we're right there and we grow with them again.
Francisco, what about you with the pending economy?
Yeah, we have definitely a very similar outlook. We are bracing ourselves for a potential recession. And whenever you hear about any political or economic instability, you want to prepare yourself. You don't want to just be blindsided, of course. Right. But we are also hopeful about the future. And we just recovered from the pandemic, and so if we can do that, and anything else is just more of the same, I should say. Even though they're different phenomena, but we already have a plan. A lot of businesses had to adapt and adjust, and so we did it 2 years ago. We can do it now. And like Nick mentioned, our customers that we work with, we have really strong relationships, and so if anything needs to change with how we price our products, or how we market ourselves, or how we service them, then that's something that will be done. There's no question. We have faith that once the economy bounces back up, then, or if it ever goes down, that we'll be right in the same spot where we were before. And so we're not too doom and gloom.
Right. And frankly, most, the nature of entrepreneurs are to be optimistic. Right. So because the reality is that when there are down times, you don't jump into the stock market when it has a record high. You jump when it's, when it's struggling, and there are all sorts of opportunities that open up. And, my sense is both of you are keeping your eyes and ears open to see what opportunities. There are opportunities to maybe buy other companies. There are opportunities to go to other geographic areas. You've got to be flexible, and you've got to be on your toes. Now, what about the hiring market? Are you folks, and I know, Nick, obviously hiring is a big part of your business. Are you surviving this hiring, this great resignation that they call it?
Yeah, we're doing the best we can.
Right.
It's not easy. It's hand-to-hand combat. You have to stay close to your staff, because everything's changing. Even for our staff, the cost of gas, the cost of childcare, it's their personal situations evolving constantly. So it's not easy. We're leaning on our networks, our relationships. That's why we've been able to be so strong through this. If we were just posting a job on a job board and hoping that somebody applies, we'd be out of business, because that's just not happening today. Right. It's kind of a guerrilla warfare way of getting through it. And but so far it's worked. But I hope it loosens up soon, because it's pretty tight out there.
Right. I don't know how much hiring are you guys doing, Francisco, at FNS?
So we have a network of remote developers. So our problems are a little bit different. It's not so much that we can't find local talent. It's that everywhere in the world, it's harder to find some of the talent that we're looking for, the type of services that we're looking for. And so, like Nick mentioned, if we were to just post a job board, like, hey, I need a developer that knows how to program in JavaScript or another language, we'll be sitting here for months waiting, because nobody's actively looking for, that they don't have that drive anymore, I feel like. And so we have to be really aggressive with our hiring, and really selective as well, because you get people who don't really fit the criteria what they say they do, and so you have to be really careful nowadays, especially with the remote positions. I know that the world shifted to remote positions, and we're still trying to adjust. You know, the fact that we're in the Zoom call is new for a lot of people, but it's a different set of leadership, a different requirements when you have to hire somebody that you may potentially never meet in person. And it's been real tough. I won't lie, it's been real tough, but we're hopeful and we're doing the best we can.
Well, one of the things that I'm working with a couple of my colleagues on this concept of coach leadership, this idea of the coach, like The Last Dance. You see The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and you see the difference between Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, and that's your team. Your team is maybe not that diverse, but you've got to treat people very differently. And my sense is, as leaders, as I get to know you, you are kind of coach leaders. You kind of you work with that, you deal with that, and that's really the way to go. It's funny, I'm hearing more ads, just going back to the personnel, from Indeed, and all these ads, as if call us and there's one person. It's really interesting that they're advertising, but I think what you both said is you can't sit back and wait for that. You've got to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask you, Francisco, that you're probably closer to the age of a lot of these folks. What is it about are people just thinking that they can do social media and make money off of social media? What is it that there are all these jobs? And I don't know if you have friends that are out of the market that are doing that. Talk about that, because I think a lot of people still are just confused. Is like, where did the workers go?
Right. Yeah. I honestly don't have the answer for that. Mm-hmm. My circle of friends, I grew up with them and I went to college with them, so they all have jobs at like government contractors, Lockheed Martin, SRC, and things like that. So I don't really have somebody who has that perspective of where, hey, I'm going to make money off of YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever the case may be. But I think that social media has given people a shifted sense, like a shifted perspective as to what can really be a career, what's sustainable, what's long term.
Right.
And some people value the quick money over long-term stability and working with a group of people to make something that's greater than yourself.
Right.
And so I don't have the answer for where all the workers went. So if I had it, I'd be in a lot of different positions.
Makes more money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real challenge, and people are adjusting. I was talking to someone who hadn't worked for 4 years and just got hired in a logistics job, that even by her own admission, there's no way I would have gotten that job, but they're really looking for smart people. And so there's good things out of it now, that they're, this whole idea of having 10 years of experience in the industry and so on. Sometimes people are, really, really smart people that for whatever life reasons went off track, and went somewhere else. And so, do you guys, one of the things we're doing, and so as I've mentioned before, we're creating these entrepreneur zones, and it's really about the idea of a network, of a business network. That one of the mentality has been, well, you're a self-made person. You got your own business, Nick, just do it on your own, become successful. Francisco, do it on your own. You don't need to talk to anybody. You don't need to do anything. Just be tough. And now there's more of this attitude of a network or a partnership of different businesses. Do you guys have businesses and business leaders that you they may not be, they're probably not competitors, but you're working with kind of a cadre of a business network? Francisco, talk about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. We definitely, that was one of the big stepping stones in our business, is forming relationship and fomenting friendships, really, with other businesses who are like-minded in the way that they operate and their professionality and things of that nature. And so we're always, whenever we're at Chamber of Commerce events or networking events, we really love meeting new people. And that's why Wednesday was really awesome, just to see other like-minded businesses that have the same goals and values, especially when it comes to the family. And so having a network of businesses that you trust and that you can bounce around ideas with, that's huge, because we never want to say, whenever somebody comes to us, for example, we don't do any marketing. FNS. We don't make billboards or anything like that. But if somebody comes to us and say, hey, I want to make my website, make an app or something, and I also want to market, we don't want to say, no, we don't really do it anymore. We have a network of people that we work with and that we can point to them and trust them. And it's like, if they fail, it's like almost as we fail. So our word means a lot when it's to our customers when we point them in the right direction.
Yeah. Nick, what about you? Do you have kind of a network of folks you talk to?
Absolutely. In various, it's neat to kind of have folks who are, already sold a business kind of more at the ninth inning, early on and then in different points. So absolutely, different points of view. When you go through and try and grow a business, you encounter things that you have to, you use your mind, you use your heart, and you try and balance. And then there's a tug of war going on there. And you ask multiple people for advice, and they give you different points of view, and you need that to make good decisions. And I mean, the thing that we don't have an unlimited amount of is time.
Yeah.
And so how to pick how you're going to give your minutes to each day is tough. And the more people in your life, I think, working off the same playbook, help you stay on track. So yes, in many different ways. I don't want to bore you with all of them, but absolutely. And I think it helps grow your point of view too, as a leader.
Yeah. Oh, it really does. I mean, it really does. And the partnerships and collaborations. Do you guys have an informal or formal board of directors or board of advisors?
Ours is informal. We don't have a formal one.
Yeah.
At some point we may need to consider it, but right now it's very much informal.
Yeah. And again, you'd be amazed how many businesses don't have that. And so Francisco, where you just take them out every quarter, take them out to dinner and really get their advisors. Do you do that? You're shaking your head. Does FNS do that?
That was something that Frank, my father, was like, we need to do this. Like, he's more of he has, with having a previous business, we really rely on him when it comes to, structure and organization. So that was something that he said, it must be done. We have to, every quarter, we have to go out and, meet and bounce around everything that's going on, look at all the numbers, look at how we can improve, and get advice from all our partners.
Yeah, no, it really is a best practice. And if anyone's listening and you don't have a board, all it costs is a dinner, and the advice can be priceless. And you can pick and choose where you can have a friend that's an attorney, and a friend that's an accountant, and a friend that's a marketing expert, and a friend that's, and you get them to have dinner, have an agenda. They get a free dinner, you pay for their dinner, and they give you advice. And as Nick said, as you get bigger and bigger, sometimes you may have to have a more formal board of directors, but well, I want to thank you. This has been great. I really learned a lot from you. You are superstars in the family business world. Congratulations on being the New Jersey Family Businesses of the Year. And we're looking and expecting a whole lot from you. And we want to help you any way we can. So Francisco, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give your respective dads our best, your family, your moms, and so on. Really, really, really just love the family, the family collegiality. It was palpable. So I want to thank everybody for watching our Zoom at noon, and we will see you next week. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.